Hello. Is fae the same as fairy? And how do we use these terms within the tradition and the culture of the fairy faith in Ireland? So, I'm Lora O'Brien and I have a background in Irish history, folklore, mythology, and I have also written a book called The Fairy Faith in Ireland. So, this video will answer that question, particularly within this context. Okay, I'm not going to speak for other cultures, but when we do start looking and addressing the global and historical context of these beings, we do see the term fairy and its numerous variations appearing all over the world. So these beings, entities, definitely do not just exist in Ireland, but that is the context that I am working within. That's the fairy faith that I grew up in here in Ireland. So each adaptation of the experience of these mystical beings within other cultures is going to be different. It's going to be unique. Even within what's known as the collective grouping of the Celtic countries or the Celtic cultures, of which Ireland is one, of course, they present quite differently. So, for example, within the Scottish tradition, we have the Seelie and Unseelie courts, and you just don't get that here in Ireland. So there are a lot of kind of misconceptions about Irish fairies, but when we are using that terminology, we will pretty much stick to fairy. If we're going to go with one of the other kind of titles or honorifics that we give them, maybe I'll do another video listing those off. Comment below if you want that. But there are a number of other terms that we would use to avoid addressing them as fairies, but a lot of the folklore and everything would just simply talk about the fairies, F-A-I-R-Y or F-A-I-R-I-E-S, okay? And the usage of fae or fairy, so fae, the term fae, F-A-E, comes from the Old French, and the term fairy, when it's spelled F-A-E-R-I-E, is from Old Latin, I believe. So those are obviously languages that are outside of our own Irish language. So the words and terms that we have for them within the Irish language are obviously quite different. Na Dini Maha, the good people, Na Dini Hushla. And again, there's a whole list of them. If you want a whole video on that, let me know. But our folklore and mythological traditions very much lend the air of respect and caution to any kind of interacting with these beings or entities. So we are very, very mindful of potential bad luck or disrespect that a careless naming might bring. So we might, avoid the F word altogether and refer to them as the neighbours or the good neighbours, right? Within the folklore, within the folklore collections, certainly when people are talking about them, they will just talk about the fairies or the fairy forts or the fairy hills or anything like that. And you really don't see people in Ireland referring to the fae, F-A-E. And I've done a pretty extensive study of Irish folklore. And obviously, having grown up in the culture, fae, F-A-E, is just not really a term that has historically been present here in Ireland. Now, I'm not saying that nobody in Ireland has ever used that term because, clearly I'm not the boss of everybody in Ireland. And anybody with a lick of sense would understand that that's not what I'm trying to say. So don't come at me in the comments, right? However, it's just not a common term here at all. So when we are trying to approach them or trying to deal with them or trying to just be respectful of them, like I said, the naming of them is quite important. So just bear that in mind. And if you are coming across anything that is referring to the fae from Ireland, it's probably in a neo-pagan context and it's probably not rooted in authentic material. So I think that the very short, relatively short answer to this question, would give you a sense of the importance of a respectful and informed approach to dealing with the fairy faith in Ireland, or these beings or entities themselves. And we very much come from the perspective of being rooted in that authentic understanding of their origins and the significance in the Irish culture. Now, this video is part of a series, so I'll put a link to the playlist at the end, and I hope that you found it useful. So, fairy, yes; fae, no, when we're dealing with the Irish traditions and Irish cultures and the fairy faith in Ireland. Gur mágat, slán go fóill. I will see you in the next video.